Good morning, everyone. Wow, we've got some great topics this morning and today. For those of you who were here yesterday, I know your heads are probably full. All of these are being recorded, so if you're like me, I'm going to go home and rewatch all of these over the weekend probably, because there was a lot of great information. I want to introduce the orange box to everyone. If you don't know about the orange box, it's over there on the shelf but if you have questions, put your hand up. Somebody over there is watching from the CyberX team. They'll bring you that orange box. Don't be afraid of it. That is the microphone of today's world. And if you're falling asleep, they may throw it at you. It's bouncy. It bounces quite well. So just so that you know what that orange box is, I think there's an orange one and maybe a white gray one, but we really do want the questions from the audience to come in. Okay, we're going to get started on diversity, inclusion, training, what's happening in our world. I've got two great guests with me this morning, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We're going to let Belinda get started from South Carolina. Belinda, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. My name is Belinda McEachern. I'm here in the lovely Columbia, South Carolina region. And actually, I am the chapter president for Blacks in Technology Columbia, which is the official chapter for the South Carolina region of the dynamic and growing, vibrant Blacks in Technology Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And the purpose of our group is to network, learn best industry practices, and to advance your information and technology career. Our goal and our mission is to stump the divide between Black tech workers and to fundamentally influence and affect change on the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Belinda. Okay, Sue.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sue Abraham. I am the chair for the School of IT Administration and Security at Seneca College. I've been in technology like a lot of women, sort of found myself doing technology as opposed to formally being trained in it. And so increasing diversity in technology has become a passion for me and aligns with Seneca's goals as well.
Great, thank you. I'm Shelley Wark-Martyn. I'm with SANS Training Institute. I've been there about going on my 9th year. SANS hired me for my communication skills. So I have no technology skills whatsoever. My background is nursing, social work, public policy, and business development. And they hired me for my communication skills. So there's rooms for a lot of different people to work in the cybersecurity industry. It's not always about being the best techie. Okay, let's talk about diversity and training. Belinda, from your experience and from what you're doing, what's happening with, we've talked about diversity and having our workplaces reflect more the people who live in our community. From your perspective, and I know you've told me a little bit about your journey, what's new? What's happening that's new in the industry since we've gone through the last 2 years of the COVID?
Well, I think there's been a shift. And what I mean by that, there's been an awakening. If the COVID season didn't teach us anything else, it taught us just how strong we really are and what we're capable of. Case in point, the Great Resignation. I mean, it's like people had that courage. It's like, if I could survive that, I can survive anything. So the persons who had cybersecurity or tech careers as a dream found this hope and this desire and this newfound strength to just go for it. Life is too short. It's actually what happened to me because I had so many naysayers, and I've always been, a lover of technology. My background is fundamentally education and, technology and the visual arts. But it's like, why not? I can't let anyone stop me. And look what I've overcome. We've come a long way, but there's a very long way to go. When persons like myself interview for a cybersecurity position, I want the interview panel to look like me. That's when I will, truly say that things have changed. So, thank you.
Great, great. The interview pattern needs to look like you. I like that. Okay, Sue, for you, what have you noticed that's changed in the last 2 years with diversity and training, and who's coming into your programs?
So over the last 4 or 5 years, we've actually had an increase in female interest in my programs in IT administration and security. We've actually managed to increase from about 17% to about 22% female students, which is amazing. And that is thanks to having a lot of really great female faculty and male allies. And I think that that really has contributed to increasing the students' comfort levels in the classes and their persistence in the programs.
Cool. Wow. I know for SANS, just due to what was happening in the news around diversity, a lot of the tragedies that were happening in the news stories, they took a real active approach in having a diversity officer at SANS now, whose role is to help us, even though, somebody said sometimes you have to have conversations and put your foot in your mouth yesterday. I think that was Michelle that said that yesterday. Even though, like, for all of us, we all think we're pretty good at this stuff. We know it. We got it. We know what to say, what not to say. We don't, and we're still learning. But as we have more conversations, it gets easier. We start to see where we could do better. And so they've started a whole diversity program with the employees of SANS, where they've actually partnered us with other individuals within the organization, so people we don't typically work with. And the goal of this, it's a 7-week program that we're all in, is to understand who we all are better, because we probably have more in common than we have different amongst us. And so my partner in this, because they were assigned, is in England, so the one thing we do not have in common is time zones. So it's been fun trying to just figure out the time zones. But a lot of us work in a virtual world now, where we are working with people across countries or nations, and so the time zones become part of our everyday life. Like if you have a 12 o'clock meeting, it's really a 10 o'clock meeting or an 8 o'clock meeting. It depends where you are. And so part of that, and being inclusive, to be able to allow everybody to be part of it, is being able to overcome all the barriers, and sometimes the barriers are others that we don't think of. Okay, so tell me about who's coming to the programs. What do your demographics look like? You're a career changer, Belinda? Are there a lot of career changers? Like later, I'm from Calgary, Alberta. I have a lot of people in oil and gas who thought they had life made in oil and gas, and now they're career changers, and they're not young people.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because not just with, when you think about diversity and inclusion and even equitable services, things of that nature, we tend to forget about ageism. That's something that I had to face as well, because, not everyone is a young, undergrad, college, graduate looking for an internship. We're looking to pivot our careers. Fortunately enough for me, the Blacks in Technology Foundation, we're comprised of persons from so different, vast professions, business owners, CEOs, IT professionals, data scientists, cybersecurity specialists, the list goes on and on. So there's a place for everyone. And with the Blacks in Technology Foundation, we provide our members, which is totally free, with mentorship, with those one-on-one mentors from the organizations and the companies that, they never thought they could experience, such as Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. We're providing those scholarships where they can attain certifications at no cost to them. So we're making the impossible possible for them. So that brings me to my main point, which is the marketing and the targeting. We hear about so many different programs that are available to underrepresented populations. But to me, there's a gap in the marketing and the targeting. It's great to have all those programs, but if the persons that you're supposed to be assisting and helping and trying to bring up, if you're not targeting and marketing the information to them, it's kind of futile. It's like, what's the purpose? we want to make sure that information is provided in those areas, in those environments, in those programs, in those establishments where they can actually get the information and get it in a timely manner. Because other than that, it's just a coin phrase. Thanks.
That's a great point, and it became apparent to me. My daughter traveled with me to Toronto this week for the conference, and so when we got to the hotel room, I turned on the TV and I was watching a program. She says, this is real TV, she said. I'm like, and my daughter's 30. I said, what do you watch? She said, I don't watch real TV, she said. Like, they just don't watch. So if you're marketing, like, how many advertisers are still on the television? She said, we don't even watch any of that at home, Mom. We go to our Netflix or our Prime or whatever it is we want to watch. We're very specific about what we watch, and then we shut it off. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So good point about marketing. How do you find your markets? How about you, Sue? What are you finding as far as your demographics? Who's coming to your programs? What's changed?
So we've had an increase in not direct from high school students. So those second careers, those that are looking to upskill or reskill, because like you talked about the oil market, there's a lot of other markets where there's been a lot of job loss, and in Ontario, that's been in the automotive industry. And so they're looking for opportunities in areas that are new, that are up and coming, that are in high demand, like cybersecurity is, where there's a huge gap between the number of positions available and the number of people that are able to fill those positions.
Interesting, because if you're one of those individuals who has ever gone through your career ending, when you thought you had a career that was going to take you through to retirement, and then your midlife and your career ends, those people don't even know, and they have a hard time accepting that they need to change their careers. And so to get into a program for them almost seems like there's so many details about, how do I go back to school and retrain? I don't know how to do that. How do I feed my family, pay my mortgage? How do I fill out an application even to do that? Because some of them, their education was so long ago, they can't even find it. Or, especially as we know, women, a lot of times you look at what you need to do to apply and you think, well, I'm not going to make it, so I just won't bother applying. So when you look at the programs that you're offering, and I know we had some speakers yesterday on stage talk about, there are lots of opportunities to apply for different programs where you can enter for various, whether they be diversity programs, career changers, new to technology. What's some programs or ways that you are encouraging and ensuring you're targeted your market, you've got your market, how do you get them to apply and to focus on those programs? Belinda?
Thank you very much. Well, one thing is that I believe in hand-holding. I can't just send you to the resource and say, hey, here it is, apply. Because like you mentioned earlier, they may look at the different descriptions and, not understand the terminology, especially the tech terminology. But I'm there to let them know that, hey, break down those words, that verbiage, because you have transferable skills. No matter what industry you work in technology. You use technology from sunup to sundown. So you have to let them know that they have those transferable skills. Make them feel more comfortable, because although these programs exist, you still have to think about your targeted audience and that demographics. Because a lot of these programs, they have electronic assessments, which I find tend to scare a lot of people off. It's like, hey, they're going to test me. And some people aren't great test takers. So they won't even attempt that. So they'll stop at that level. But with that constant one-on-one, that, hand-holding throughout the entire process, they see that it's not that daunting. And that persons from Blacks in Tech, we have you. We have your back. We're going to be with you the entire way. So we just can't send them out and say, hey, here's this program, and, and leave them on their own. There has to be more. And I know time is a factor, but if you want, if you want the final product that you're looking for, you're going to have to invest and invest for real. And I don't just mean funding. I don't just mean providing vouchers for certifications. I just have to go back to my classroom days as a teacher. I can't hold you accountable for not being successful if I'm not providing you with the tools necessary to be successful.
That's great comments and great insight. So do you have programs that you specifically will send people to, or that you access, or that you can share with us today?
Yes, one program that we have is called the Converge program, and it's a partnership with the Blackson Technology Foundation and the Microsoft organization, and it's a mentor-mentee program, and actually we're going into our 5th cohort where mentees are paired with C-suite executives in these organizations like Amazon, Google, TikTok. The list goes on and on. But with this mentorship, it's a one-on-one where they meet and they actually discuss those career goals and they give them those tools. And we have some great success stories where we have some person who's actually been hired by Microsoft after completion of the mentor-mentee program. So it's just totally awesome. That's just one of many programs that we have going on right now. And like I said, totally free of charge. These people are giving of themselves to assist these persons who want to switch careers or just want to learn how to get your foot in the door.
Wow, that's great. And kudos to a lot of the corporations that are out there, because they are more than eager to support these types of programs. We all know what it's like to hire people these days. So if they get any hot body that says, I want to learn, you'll find somebody within the organization that will take the time to talk to them, to provide some mentorship to them, and provide funding to allow them or to negotiate opportunities for them to train. I once jumped in an Uber in Seattle, and this young guy was telling me about all these things he was doing to try to get into cybersecurity. And I said, well, do you have a place where you'd like to work? And he said, Microsoft. And I said, well, why don't you just go talk to them? Because he was trying to do it all on his own. And I said, you don't have to do this on your own. So he said, well, I don't know anybody there. And I said, well, you do now. So I made sure that he had an introduction to somebody. And that somebody made sure that he had a program and a way to get himself trained to get a career at Microsoft. So it's like, if people are asking and they're willing to do the work, those are the people that you want to latch onto. And our corporations have done a great job in supporting them. We just have to, get them all connected. So really appreciate you talking about how you're responsible as well and accountable for getting them to their final goal. How about you, Sue? Any programs that you turn people to or suggest or work with them through?
So Seneca is actually changing our service model. And what we're trying to do at Seneca, and I think a lot of the colleges now, is to recognize that not everybody wants the information in the same way. Some people, myself included, I want to Google it, I want to look at it on the line, I maybe want to use a chat bot to get some answers if I have questions. I don't want to have to talk to somebody. My job is talking to people all day. I don't necessarily want to. But other people, like Belinda was saying, want that one-on-one connection. They want that person that they can talk to. Some people want to come on campus and be there in person. They don't want to have to be on Zoom to connect with them. So giving the students and employers those opportunities to connect with people how they want to connect, as opposed to us dictating and saying, this is how you can get the information.
So when people are, I've been here for 2 days, and now there's a lot of students attending the event this week, and it's like, how did you get there? How did you get there? It's the application process. There are a lot of programs from both of you, and I'm going to start with you on this one, Sue. When you find, do you have too many applications? Could you use more applications? Is there something that you're finding in individuals that are applying where they're not completing, or what's your perspective, what's your feedback on that?
So for my programs and my department, you'll notice if you go to our booth, outside that we have two signs. One is to promote our programs, and the other one is that we're hiring. We have a lot of applicants. I can't take all of the applicants that we have because I don't have enough faculty. Just like industry is experiencing a shortage of cyber faculty or cyber professionals, we have a shortage of cyber faculty. And so anybody who's interested, come and talk to me. So that's one of the challenges.
How about you, Belinda? What are you finding for like programs and people applying? What does that look like?
It's steadily on the rise, and I'm loving like every minute of it. I just spread information. I mean, that's like my top job, is just getting the information to the people and having them apply. If you need assistance with applying, and garner it towards them, because not everyone is the same. We all, work differently. We approach tasks differently. And also being a working professional in tech, I'm also an adult professional with disabilities. So we can't leave that out as well. We have to make sure that the application process is accessible to persons with disabilities. There's just so many different areas that really just don't pop to your head when you're thinking about just, providing these programs. And you're saying that you truly want to be inclusive. If you truly want to be inclusive, you got to think about everyone.
Okay, so now I'm stuck. Sometimes I say things I shouldn't say, put foot in mouth, but I'm going to do it now, and we're going to problem solve together. So now you've both just told me, and I know from my own experience at SANS, because we have academies and we get more applications than we have spots to fill. And I know with the TMU, Toronto Metropolitan University, we all used to know as Ryerson last week, they have the Rogers Cybersecurity Catalyst. They get a lot of applications. We have too many applications. What do we tell the person that says, that's the problem, I keep applying and no one ever notices me? What do we tell that individual who's listening and saying, yeah, they get lots of applications, I'm never going to get noticed? How do we get those people in? Belinda?
Well, first of all, the person that's asking those questions, are those questions being asked by a human or a bot?
A human.
A human person. So you get to think about, it's like, okay, how are you approaching this? Are we giving them an alternative? Maybe their skill level is not up to where it needs to be to enter that program. What alternatives do we have? What information are we giving them? If it requires some type of certification, is there another path that we're discussing? We have to step outside of the box, because each person is an individual, but we can still end up at the same end point and achieve our goals. But we can't just have one path set to get to those goals. So that's what I propose, and that's what I tell my people. There's more than one way to get to the top of the hill, but we have to provide those different options, those different paths to suit that person, that individual learner, so they can be successful, because there's room at the top.
Okay, great. Sue?
So for our programs, there's often multiple ways to gain admissions. So if you're looking at a graduate certificate program, we sometimes offer them through our continuing education, so you can take them part-time. If you're interested in attaining a degree, not everybody has that plan when they start high school, and you have to have that plan of university when you start high school, at least on Ontario currently. So you get to the end and decide that this is the path forward for you. Well, for our programs, you can start with a diploma and then transfer and pathway into the degree. So you can still get to your end goal through one of the other means.
Cool. So I think, what I want to say to people who are applying and hearing that there's so many applications, I'm never going to get noticed. If you really want to be somewhere, take the time to make the call. Call Belinda, call Sue, call me and say, I really want to do this. Help me figure out how to do it, because maybe your application didn't meet all the criteria to be selected, but that doesn't mean you can't get there. And I once had a gal who applied for an academy at SANS. She didn't get in. And then she talked to somebody in her community who said, well, call Shelley at SANS. So she called me and we had a conversation. She said, I really want to get into cybersecurity. I can't afford a SANS course, but I want one. And I said, well, SANS has a work-study program. At that time, it was $1,500. If you could find $1,500, I'll get you into a SANS course, get you the course, the on-demand of the course, and the cert, but you have to be the teacher's helper for a week. That was what she had to do to get it at that price. So she asked her aunt for a loan. So I knew she proved that she could go find some money. She did that. She got in the course. And now she is running a cybersecurity SOC in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And it's been wonderful to watch her career because she just needed a chance. But she was so insistent that she just had to figure out how to get through the door. So for everyone listening, if you want to be in this, this is your careers in cybersecurity, whatever role you want to be in, I think it's safe to say that there's a lot of mentors and people here who want to help you to get there. You still have to do all the work. You still have to show up and do some things that you're probably not going to like. And I think Michelle from Cloudflare said that yesterday, is I had to start to love to do the things that I hated to do. You still have to do that, but we need you in the space and we want you to get there. Keep knocking, keep reaching out. That's what we're here for. So we've got about 5 minutes left, and I'd like to take some time to look into the future of diversity, inclusiveness, and what does that look like from your perspective, Belinda? What do you think we need to be prepared for? And is there a part of the conversation you think we're not having yet?
Yes. Thank you so much for asking that question. Personally, like I stated earlier, I want the interview panel, I want the organization, the persons who are interviewing me, to actually represent diversity, inclusion, and equity. I don't want it to continue to be just a catchphrase or a coin phrase, just something that sounds great to say, hey, my organization is blah, blah, blah. But actually show it so that there's no question. I want to see persons that look like me. Not only putting that person in, I want people to think, especially when you're thinking about equitable services and true inclusion. That doesn't mean bringing a person from an underrepresented population into your organization and forcing them to adapt to the way that the organization is being run. True inclusion, diversity, and equity means to me, and especially for the future, is that when you bring that person in, you nourish their talents and their skill set, and you make a place for them where they can thrive with their unique talent sets and skills. That's true equality, giving them what they need, but at the same time, making sure that there's a level playing field and not forcing them to go inside that box. Okay. We have a long way to go. Thanks. But I'm positive we're going to get there.
Okay, Sue.
So I think that the future really is going to rely on a lot of changes. And I don't mean just who's sitting at the table, but I think it's also the language that we're using around cybersecurity. It's not always inclusive. It can be offensive to some people, depending on their life experiences. And so I think we need to look at those things as well. I think we need to, like Belinda was saying, bring in the diverse groups, but then listen to what they're saying and act on it. That's the piece that I think often is missing, is that inclusion. And if we can get that right, if we can get people to come in the door and then listen to them and make those changes, we're going to have a much better workforce, and we're going to have a much better chance at mitigating risks.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions from our audience? Anybody want? I can't see if anybody has their hands up, so is there one? There's an orange box floating there.
Yes, it's a gray box this time. So I have a question for you, Sue, because I have both a degree and a diploma. So the Ontario college system is something that's close to my heart. Also, seeing women in IT is close to my heart too. So one of the things that you mentioned was you were able to increase the number of female students. I'd be curious to hear how you went about that. But on the flip side, you know, going through university and college, I always started with women, and I was the only woman that finished. So I would really be curious to see how you guys at Seneca are handling the retention of women that are trying to get into this industry, and then, you know, maybe they kind of encounter challenges or fears, and they end up switching, you know, or moving down altogether.
That is a really great question. So one of the ways that we've done it is by having a lot of female faculty on our team, and that wasn't, you know, it wasn't intentional that we were only hiring women. It was that these amazing women, some of which are in the audience, were able to join us and, you know, listening to their perspectives. The other thing that we've done is we've had a lot of conversations about what does it mean to be inclusive, what do our students need, and trying to make the classroom a safe space for everyone that's involved. So that's been a real key. We've also changed our marketing. You know, Belinda was talking about being able to see the diversity, and we've changed our marketing. If you come by our booth, you'll see that the photos are different. The people that we're putting forward are different now. And for the persistence piece or the retention of the students, it's having those mentors and having opportunities for those people to ask the questions that they need in the spaces that they need and trying to support them through.
Great, thank you.
Okay, well, we've run out of time. Great conversation. When we talk about diversity, inclusion, it is beyond one size fits all. And I think it's up to each of us individually to make sure we're doing our part. So thanks, Belinda, for being here today, and Sue for being here today. Really appreciate your time and conversation. Thank you.